we hot?
We are good.
All right. All right, welcome everybody to this Community Oriented Policing Committee. And for those of you that may be watching us on Santee TV, thank you for being here. Today, we've already done the roll call. Let the record reflect that we do have a quorum. We do have some folks that are going to show up just a little bit late. David Shorey sent his regrets. He didn't realize this was going to be an in-person meeting, and it's a long drive for him to come down from Julian. But it is beautiful up there. I just went over there up the weekend, and it was great up there. So thank you. So let's get started. I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting on May 10th, 2021. Do I have a motion? Anybody? Okay, I have a motion by Jean, and is there a second? Second by Mark Foreman.
Please don't forget to speak into the mic.
Yeah, oh, by the way, you should be able to see your mic there. Push to, it's green, it's on, red, it's off. We have to speak into the microphone so that it gets on the record and so it gets recorded on the television. So just in case. So I think you hear me just fine though, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Any additions, corrections, deletions? Not seeing any. Please call the roll for the vote.
Mayor Minto,
Aye.
Lieutenant Bodine, Julia Diaz.
Aye.
Jean Duffy. Mike Aiken.
Aye.
Linda Roach. Aye. Dr. Foreman.
Aye.
And Danette McLagan. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much. And we'll go to item number 3, which is updates on Neighborhood Watch and crime prevention events. Lieutenant?
The sheriff's has just announced that they're going to have National Night Out on August 3rd. It's our first event post-COVID where we encourage and show the law enforcement. So Astria will be there. Our search and rescue team, K-9s, different units will be there at the National Night Out on August 3rd, which will be in the Santee Trolley Station area near the amphitheater. As far as neighborhood watches, we do need some clarification. We help encourage neighborhood watches, but for anyone interested in neighborhood watches, they would have to essentially take it on themselves as kind of the host or in charge, and we go and present and help them through it. But there does have to be a person of contact on the neighborhood watch side who would like to take the lead for their neighborhood, and then we assist them. And we are encouraging that now that we are opening up. If they need any help, questions, concerns, we will help you host the meeting, but we would not be in charge. We are getting some calls about that, and we do help, but we do not dictate the meetings in each neighborhood. Each neighborhood kind of takes it on for themselves.
Great, thank you. Could you do me a favor, though, because some folks might be watching for the first time. Some folks may not even know what Neighborhood Watch or National Night Out is. So could maybe just kind of...
Yeah, National Night Out is a wonderful event. We've had it for years, and until COVID happened, we had it. But it allows different units from our department as the sheriffs to come out and show what we do. So whether it's PERT, which is the Psychiatric Emergency Response Team, whether it's our K-9 team, whether it's the Astria Bomb Squad, you're welcome to come. It's a free event, family-oriented, and you can ask whatever questions or concerns you have with the law enforcement industry. Santee is wonderful in the aspect of law enforcement, and so it's been a huge event for the Santee community. As far as neighborhood watches, if there is a crime increase, let's just say burglary or robbery, and you have concerns about people lurking or car break-ins and you feel that more can be done in your neighborhood, you contact the Sheriff's Department. You're more than welcome to put in a request for extra patrolling. And then if you decide to host a a meeting outside of your home or at the park, it allows questions and concerns that the neighbors may have, and the sheriffs can answer on what we can and cannot do for the neighborhood watch specifically. But someone does take the lead on the neighborhood, kind of like an HOA, for example. Someone is head of the HOA. We would go to the meetings, we would attend, and then we would answer the law enforcement side of what we suggest. I know that David Shorey sent out an email about potential presentations on SEPTED, which is the environmental suggestions that we would have, for example, where cameras are pointed, not leaving things in a car or an area of opportunity that we would allow criminals to see what they can take and steal. But those are specifics
Great,
to that.
thanks. I think that's very important, though, and as a matter of fact, I like the idea that he had here for crime prevention through environmental design. And if we come back and do that, maybe we could actually have something a little bit more formal to present on both National Night Out and on Neighborhood Watch, because, just in a few sentences, it doesn't really give a great impact on how good it really is for our community. So and now that people are watching us remotely, it might be really informative for them to find out what those things are.
Crime Stoppers actually reached out and had a meeting with our station recently, and they offered to come and do a presentation for the city on the incentives of not only reporting a crime, but what potentially a $1,000 reward would mean by calling in a tip that would lead to an arrest. And so we are more than happy to have those types of presentations, whether it's Crime Stoppers, the PERT, again, which is a psychiatric emergency response team because of mental health and how important it is. We can have them come and speak. We actually do have a few presentations coming up for the city, but for the YMCA and Boys and Girls Club on bullying, because that is a huge concern that parents have brought to our station. Sure. Traffic is another situation that has been brought up to our station. So our captain is currently working with our headquarters team on suggestions, engineering, things like that that are going to be coming out. And then our COPS team that I met with last week, graduations just happened and school is out, and parents' concerns are now, is there still going to be safety in school for the children in summer school, whether it's drugs, fights, things like that. And the COPS team wants parents to know we are still there, available, ready. School is not out for police officers. So if you guys have more suggestions on actual presentations, our station is happy to do that.
Great. I thank you very much for that. Any questions from the committee? All right, thanks. And that would take us into sort of what we've already talked about, topics for discussion at our upcoming meetings. And I'll go ahead and read off what David sent in first. Like I say, he sends his apologies. He would like to be here. My guess is you might be watching us on TV, and I say, make sure you get here next time, David. So he also said not only crime prevention through environmental design, which is SEPTED, but he said the PERT, which is the psychiatric emergency response teams, and the presentation on alcohol regulation in Santee, which is the deem approved ordinance, conditional use permits, and community involvement. And IPS, who he works for, can certainly help and make those presentations. I think those are actually very good ones to have. Let me check the backside here. I think those are good. Anybody else think those would be appropriate for us to have out here? Okay, great. Let's just kind of go around the room there. We'll start. Mike, do you have any ideas?
I definitely like the SEPTED idea. I remember early in the neighborhood policing, earlier in my career, when basically you make it so it's not welcoming to a lot of it's with the smaller petty type crimes, but it just is not inviting or welcoming to the suspect, so they'll go somewhere where it's a little darker or a little bit out of sight. So I'm really a big fan of that program or that concept.
I think, did you have somebody come in the past and do something on drugs or fentanyl or?
We did, yeah, before I retired, we had a fentanyl expert from DEA come do a presentation. That was probably 2 years ago. I don't know. I'm almost 3 years retired, so it's quite a while. I could probably make some calls and get that set up again if you wanted.
Yeah, well, now that I think about it, since we are televised now, some of those things that we've had the pleasure of talking about and seeing and hearing about over the years, it may be a good possibility that we bring some of these back, and so that people can hear about what good work is actually being done, things that have been addressed in Santee. So that might be a great place to start.
Well, Memento, if you remember Ken Impellizzeri, who's on the PD, I talked to him on Saturday, and he's actually assigned at the DEA at that overdose team. So they respond to every suspicious death or drug-related death. So I learned a lot just in the short conversation with him, things that have changed since I retired, and I think that he might be a good contact to reach out to.
Okay, great. Well, Mike, can you work with Ann?
Be glad to.
We went back a little ways, didn't we? With Annette and see about arranging something like that?
Absolutely.
So, Danette, anything for us? Anything you really would like to know about or see us talk about here?
So, in looking what the email that was sent in talking about alcohol regulation in Santee also suggests, as I'm the retired, one of the innovators of the serial inebriate program, which is now also the PLEADS program, which is the Police and Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion. I must think that's what it stands for. Program where not only for drunken public arrest through the sobering center, but also through under the influence arrests. Those people are put into the sobering center and offered treatment in lieu of custody time. Those are county-funded programs that the city of Santee sometimes gets ignored in some of these other communities. San Diego takes a big bite out of those services, and they're certainly available to the city of Santee. And so if you're interested in a presentation on either of those, I know a couple of police officers I could wake up and see if they can come over and do a presentation on that for us as well.
Sure, that'd be great. Linda, anything?
I think the only thing that, I agree with David's suggestions. I would be very interested in hearing a presentation on PERT. I think that would be very helpful to have. And in conjunction with that, I would like to have an update with regard to resources available in the East County for homelessness. What can be done with that regard? The general public runs into that all the time. What is the appropriate response? How can they support in an appropriate way?
Right. Okay. That's a big topic. Now that we have the HOPE team working here, they may be able to come in and give us a little information. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And has everybody seen the video that was done by the Sheriff's Department? So it's actually quite nice. It's obviously short because it's a promotion, but in a nutshell, really does talk about some of the things. So I think if we did bring that here, we could expand on it quite a bit, and maybe even hear about. It's been up now about 60 days, or a little bit less.
A couple months, maybe a
Yeah.
little more, right in there.
Yeah. See if there's some kind of update or how they're doing on things like that. So
We also have a homeless outreach response team that works in East County.
and make sure you get close enough to the microphone.
We also have a homeless outreach team that works in East County, the county portions, unincorporated portions of the city, who work pretty closely with homeless resources. I think they have, they're full-time, so, and we can incorporate them into that as well.
All right. Good. Anything else? Mark?
I'm seeing a thread that runs through this list that we have, and then some of the ones that are being added to the list of something that goes deeper, and it gets along the lines of the prevention efforts that communities can start to become informed on. And it's the topic would be around adverse childhood experiences, whether we're talking about methamphetamine use or mental health, mental wellness, homelessness, alcohol. the research on that consistently goes back to the prevention efforts that we apply early on in life tend to have lasting effects, positive effects, to keep that stuff from coming on board. I remember last year, quite a while ago, IPS had the ACE group come in and actually give a presentation. It's really informative. And I was teaching on it 15 or 20 years ago in my previous job. Because it affects all of us. We were all kids at one point, and the people that we're all dealing with were kids at one point. The prevention can begin there. It's hard because it's hard to measure. Yet, as we go down through this list of whether it's the methamphetamine overdoses, the sources as to what motivates somebody to get involved in a drug like meth, it's not a simple thing that usually anything's hardly ever simple. So the preventions go way back early on, and they take years to kind of foment. And there are people around the county, her name's escaping me right now, that she runs a group, ACES Connection, and they just changed their name to PACES Connection. So that's one. And then another one that, just as Linda was talking, I was thinking of domestic violence, intimate partner violence, family violence. Most of these are also interconnected to those behaviors also. And domestic violence doesn't care where the community is. It's present in all communities. Socioeconomics play a role, but it is a real issue. And that also, then there's comorbidity of alcohol use, drug use, and domestic violence. It's an unbreakable kind of a triad. So as we're talking about all of this, it's keeping in mind that there's a complex interaction through all of it that helps the community be safer, just feel better, or feel less safe and not well. So.
Okay. Yeah, so that's something that I think we should be talking about here, because you never know who's going to be watching. Realizes, I recognize this is going on in my family, my brother's family, or maybe, a good friend down the street. And if we do some training on it and people can recognize it, which is what I think part of our job here in this committee is to do, is to just put things out there so that people can be more informed. If we just help one person, then it's really worth it. We'd like to help more, obviously, but if we just help one, then I think we're doing better. So, great, thanks. That's a good observation. Thanks. Anything else? Ideas?
One of the things that the captain brought up that we are working as a team, if you guys don't follow us already on social media, Twitter has been very informative through our station along with the Instagram. So Santee Sheriffs has their own Twitter where we report local things happening, or we introduce a lot of our staff depending on the month. Like this month is Pride Month. And so we are shedding light on fathers as well, mothers. But one thing that the captain did bring up that we suggested to our social media team was to let parents know what to look for during the summer as far as what does fentanyl look like. Okay. What does a pen, for example, would be used for if you thought your kids were on drugs, what a pen would look like, or the different tools and things that they could use. And also the internet crimes. There's a lot of video games. There's a lot of things going on. And so we are working on something currently to present so that parents are aware of what to look for, whether it's on the drug side or the online dangers. So if anyone has suggestions on what they'd like to see more of on that side, we are currently working on that.
Great. Thanks, Julie. Anything, Steve, you can think of?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of piggyback off of the mental illness thing. So just for perspective, the Sheriff's Department or the deputies in Santee deal with so much mental health. It depending on staffing levels or whether we have PERT deputies here, it seems like at least a third of the calls deal with somebody who's being reported as having mental illness. So I don't know how you narrow or what direction you go into because there's so many different variations of this. I think it's a great idea to bring awareness to it. The unfortunate part is sometimes the people that we encounter don't want the help, don't understand the help, or unwilling to receive the benefits that are available. So I do like that idea. I think we could probably spend the remainder of the year talking about different aspects of mental illness. So it would be good if we can kind of narrow that down to a direction, though.
Mark, you want to follow up on that?
Yeah, another layer to that, because one of the challenges for anybody that works around health, mental wellness, but health wellness also, often encounter that, well, I'm fine, leave me alone, mind your own business, those sorts of approaches. But another layer could also be then the educational, even supportive type of things for the family members and the people that do care about the individual who may be struggling. Because the individual struggling may not realize they're struggling, yet the people around them, whether it's in the workplace or workplace violence, which is a major topic around the nation right now, or within the family. And there are organizations within the region that provide resources for that. NAMI's one of them. Mental Health America of San Diego is also another organization that is able to come in and provide training to people around. They call it it's a first aid program that they come in, and it's county grant funded. So there's a couple organizations that help the families around things like this also. So because it's not always a police problem. It's like the police are the last ones that get called when everybody else is like, I don't know what to do with my son, with my daughter, with my wife, with my husband, etc.
You know, Mark, you've talked quite a bit about mental health issues here today. And could you just briefly tell people who might be watching your background, your expertise, so to speak? Because sometimes we watch something and we don't know a person's background. We go, what the heck is that guy even talking about? What does he know? Or how does he know? Or how does she know? And could you just briefly describe yourself?
Okay, back in 1975,
Well, maybe not that far back.
I set the intention back then to become a psychologist. But in between that, I had a 28-year career in law enforcement with San Diego Police Department. The psychology never left my awareness. So during that career, I started working with a psychiatrist and a local pediatrician. This was back in the 90s, and we were educating anybody throughout the county. We gave lectures to 3,500 people around the developmental effects of childhood trauma, domestic violence, gang shootings, etc. That kept my interest going, and then when I retired from the police department, then I set my intention down. And then between that, I took a year gap, and I was the director of the San Diego Family Justice Center to work with domestic violence. And then I put my head to the grindstone and said, okay, now let's do what I set the intention in 75, and that's to get my doctorate in psychology. So for the last 6 years or so, I was doing psychotherapy with public safety individuals. And now I'm retired from that and just off to do the next thing. And this is part of whatever that next thing is for me. There's a great need of education and awareness, et cetera, around mental wellness and what that's like and where it fits in. It's not all about the cops, but the cops are a big component of it.
So you're a resident doctor of psychology.
I guess so.
Well, good. I just thought it would be important for people to know that. Of course, you and I have known each other for, well, more than 20 years, so I do know your background in that, but others may not. So thank you for sharing with us. Yeah, you didn't have to go there. Marlene, any ideas? Or I'm just going down the line so I don't forget somebody.
I can go.
Gee,
So David, if you're watching, I'm here, and I drove from Julian, just saying.
should have carpooled.
Yeah, we don't do that, we should. I'm joking. I love the idea of trauma-informed care. I have gone through that training, and it just opens your eyes to what people are dealing with. So I think that's a fantastic idea. So somebody can maybe just come in and do our training on just the whole training. That would be great. I was thinking that, we're getting a new La Mesa Collaborative coordinator, Meredith's retiring. And so maybe once she's kind of got, started in, maybe she could do a presentation, we can meet her, kind of, introduce herself. And I know that we did a promotional video for the collaborative maybe at that time. We'll talk about it, but that would be kind of a cool presentation, I think, just to, introduce her.
And that would be, let me guess, Santee Collaborative?
Yes.
Okay, because I thought you said La Mesa.
Oh, you know what? I run La Mesa. I probably did. I'm sorry. Santee Collaborative. I'm the coordinator of La Mesa Collaborative. So that's
Okay,
probably my
I just had to ask because I
You're
was
right.
confused for a moment.
No, totally my mistake. Santee Collaborative. And then I thought maybe it'd be kind of cool to get an update from the school district as we shift out of COVID and what the kids are dealing with now. I know there's a lot of kids are falling behind and mental illness stuff and suicide and, a lot of things that are kind of substance abuse, new problems. I just thought maybe that would be kind of somebody from the school district give us kind of an update maybe after the summer on what is it looking like now in the school districts, what's going on with the kids. Those are my ideas.
That's actually an interesting thought about the schools because every year schools are required to have a school safety plan. Mm-hmm. And so it would be interesting to see how what's happened through this entire COVID period, what kind of safety plans schools have dealt with, or if they've even really dealt with them since it wasn't too many people on campus.
Right.
So that might be a topic that we want to look at too, is school safety plans.
Yep.
Have any thoughts there, Marlene?
Yes, sir. I apologize for being just a couple of minutes late, but in hearing the discussion today, from the Sheriff's Department, I know we haven't talked about it for a long time, but I know that our station is very active in kind of our central commercial corridor plan of working with the major retailers, shoplifting issues, those types of things. Just a brief report so the community and our committee can be aware of what that program is. We haven't talked about that in a while, and come the holiday season, it's probably really nice to know what is going on with that here in Santee. I also have a note, perhaps it doesn't necessarily fall into a community policing perspective, but in looking at community support, we haven't really heard a lot about our local food bank or senior programs in our community, and who is out there to really support our senior citizens and keep them out of the elder abuse type of situation, what sort of resources are out there for them. I think that's another idea that we could have. I had down the homeless population and what's going on with that here in Santee as well. There's a lot of resources that are on the table for that, and there may be others coming to the forefront in the near future that we'd like to stay on top of. Human trafficking is one that you hear a lot about it in the news these days. We haven't had a presentation at COMPOC in a long, long time from DEA or from the Border Patrol. We had that several years ago. An update on that might not be a bad idea if we could get them to come back and do another presentation.
Monique would do it. Monique Myers. She does it all the time. She would totally do that.
I think that might be an interesting presentation for this team, since we haven't talked about it for a while. And then from the city of Santee's side, from a safety perspective, we haven't really had our fire department come and do a presentation in a long time, but we have Victor, our search and rescue dog, who is an international celebrity. He's been out there round and about, and that is something many of our residents don't know that we have. As well, the fact that we're, Class 1 rated now is a good update for the community. Our fire chief could give that presentation, and our new OES rig that was just presented at the last city council meeting. If these committee members weren't really signed in, that would be another good presentation to talk a little bit about from a fire safety perspective. What's going on with our river bottom plan? What's, we're in that summer season and, what's really happening all around us would be another option. And the last suggestion that I would make is, we hear a lot about traffic, we hear a lot about concerns going on throughout the community and what is law enforcement doing about them, but perhaps a discussion about what is the city doing about that. We have pavement plans, we have restriping plans, we have safety and upgrades that are being done to our traffic signals. All of those kinds of things deal with safety on the roads here in Santee, and it doesn't necessarily have to involve the sheriff's department, but we could do a presentation on what's happening from a traffic safety perspective that the city is doing to help make sure that our streets are safe. I think those are my comments for today.
Great, thank you. Staff, do you have anything that you think we might add here or would like to see and hear about? Everybody's comments are welcome.
No, sir, we do not have an update at this time.
Great. All right, so Annette, let's have Ann or somebody pull out some of the things that we've talked about over the years and see what we can redo.
Yes, sir.
And whatnot. And Rosie, are you operating cameras by chance? Is somebody operating cameras?
Yes, she is.
Okay, is there a way that you could take this camera and point it back this way for just a moment?
You want that camera to show? That view? Sure.
Let me know when that's done. Yeah, I think you'll understand exactly why we're going with this, so. Ready? Okay. For those that are out there watching, this is your opportunity to come down here and talk to the committee and hear what's going on in person. As you can see, there's no one in the audience today. And we'd like to see people come out so that they can get firsthand what we're doing in our city, what's going on in our city, and be able to give us input. So I'd like to be able to see us. We can't, certainly right now can't fill this house, but it'd be nice to have a few extra people out there. And so we're here the second Monday of every month at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And unless something goes haywire, we try and start on time. So some of the topics that you would hear about, and you can go ahead and switch that back now. I'm just trying to make a point, let the people know that we do have room for them. So some of these great things that we talked about here are SEPTAD, PERT, internet violence, the Santee Sheriff's Department on Twitter and some of the other social media, internet crimes, mental illness issues, trauma-informed care, the Santee Collaborative, the shift from COVID in our schools and the school safety plans, commercial and business security. That's where we can also talk more about maybe the neighborhood watch and other things. And so, and then who's taking care of our seniors, human trafficking, and then fire protection and prevention, and some of our traffic issues on the street. And I know people are interested in the traffic issues because how many times do we go through an intersection here and have to wait because 3 or 4 extra cars go through? And the sheriff's department can't be there to get every single one of those cars, but I have caught you out there doing that enforcement, and I certainly appreciate it.
We try.
Yeah, and even on the streets where people complain about, the traffic going so fast, I think what we find out is that a lot of those people that are going fast in our neighborhoods are actually people that live there. So it's your neighbors. So maybe we could talk about that at some other time too. So, all right, let's see what else we have. That's a really good start for topics to talk about over the coming year. And this is the time we want to do that because our fiscal year starts again in July 1st, and we can get more information. So let's see. That was item number 4. Let's go on to item number 5. Marlene, do you have any updates, or Erica?
I can give a couple of brief updates. The City Council is in the process for the committee's information of approving the budget, we hope will happen on June 23rd for next year. That will give us $25,000 above and beyond the $25,000 we have currently allocated for DEI. Erica and I and several other critical staff have been meeting to look at the next steps for DEI to keep that process moving and keep the project moving. We are looking at contractors to do community survey, as was announced and requested through the subcommittee. We can't afford some of the more national name brand folks, but we do have some who have worked throughout San Diego County that we are looking at with a variety of other municipalities who have a lot of skills. And I think that we've got one particular one that we are going to be looking at and trying to see if we can negotiate a contract for them and get something moving forward for both how do I put it here? Both a generalized survey where anybody and everybody can respond and do that through social media or through the city website, but also a survey that combines with that and would allow for us to get specifically to communities of color and other various entities who may not always just be searching around saying, gee whiz, let me look and see what the city of Santee has on their website today. So we want to make sure that we have a focused effort on trying to reach out to our communities of color and others to be able to get really specific information from them, but also to allow anybody and everybody who has a concern, question, comment, and wants to be able to take that survey. Once that's out, we are looking at, rather before it gets out, let me go back on that statement. Before that gets posted, we want to make sure that we've done a better job than we recently have in making sure that people know that survey is there and how they can respond to that, how they can participate in that. We want to make sure that that gets out so we really have a broad representation of our community participate, as well as a focused effort to reach the people we really want to hear from, to make sure that for whatever reason, if they don't know it's there, that they would have a chance to do that. We are also looking at, once that survey comes in by a professional group, then what do we do with those answers? And the suggestion was that we use those answers and we use that as a basis to start a town hall process, not only just with city council members and with this committee, but with the community as a whole, and that we would have a chance to advertise those, bring in a facilitator who could partner with the community. I'm not the best person in that role to use, nor is any other staff person here. We want people who know how to facilitate a town hall meeting to really participate in that. And right now, based upon the budget and based upon where we are, my suggestion to staff is we've got several different folks, and that we might try to find 2 different vendors so that we don't have just one trying to lead the city down a certain pathway, but we have a vendor who really specializes in community surveys and get them to do the survey, and another vendor who could really help us analyze the results of that survey, the questions, the answers, the trends that are coming out of it, hear what our community thinks about that, and help take those steps. It might be a couple of different town halls, might be 3. We'll have to see where that goes. But to try to do the effort of looking at what truly is the values that the community of Santee holds relative to the topic, and what do we see that people really want to see happen, and what are those values to move us forward to developing some community goals. So we've got a couple of different vendors that Erica and Erica's our Human Resources and Risk Management Director for those at home, and be able to really talk about, let's get some people on board and let's get this started and get it moving. We've taken this forward to council in January. We have allocated funding for it. We did have a debut of some presentation that did not have the publicity that we wanted in advance to let people know that what we're doing. So now that we have Santee TV, we're looking to see if we can do that better and specifically get these types of surveys out there for the community, out there for the specialized focus that we really want to hear from, in case people don't just easily sign up for a survey. But we really want to have somebody who knows how to reach a variety of specific folks. And we want to do this as soon as possible. Council, I'm hoping, Mayor Minto, praying that council will approve the budget next week, and then we'll be off to rock and roll and get some folks under contract and get things moving. So we're going to be working with our subcommittee, letting them know sort of the next steps, letting them be a party, make sure they know all the ins and outs of the survey process, and then where do we go with the town halls. And again, trying to get something moving forward, recognizing summer's hot, a lot of people with COVID transitioning, let's say, depending on what the governor says. We don't want to do anything too quick because I think a lot of people are going to spread out and say, I'm going to go run out and go travel and whatnot. But if that's the case, let's start a process right away and leave it open for a while so we can make sure we get a lot of the responses in, and then be able to hold some town hall meetings late summer, early fall, to be able to move things forward. So that's, I think, an update of where we sit. I'll turn to Erica and see, is there anything else that I missed?
No.
So,
Okay.
ready to answer any questions.
Great. Questions? Linda?
I guess at the risk of stating the obvious, we are 13 months beyond the incident that triggered all of this. And so I really want to emphasize the need for being thorough, for being comprehensive, but for speed.
Right.
We need to let the community know that there is work being done and that their concerns are going to be heard and they're going to be addressed.
Absolutely.
Great. Matter of fact, we probably ought to prepare for the next meeting. Let's actually do a little background on what we've done so far, and that way, because we have so many, the potential for so many more people watching now. I think it's a great idea because some of those people don't even know what we've done unless they've either come down and went to a meeting or something like that. Not too many people going to meetings, so I'd just do a kind of a summary of what we've been doing and why we're at that point. And it's because you might ask the question, well, how did you get to the survey part? What did you do before you got there? And that, just an idea, maybe for the next month on that DEI section of the agenda, we'll go over that.
Mayor Mento, I apologize. I concur with that. I think that's a great idea. Given the low attendance in that informational meeting that was held a few weeks back,
Yeah.
several weeks back, I think it's important that the information get out there with the background as well as the recommendations as they were, that came from the ad hoc committee as they were approved by the city council. People need to see there is movement.
Right, I agree. It's easy when we've all been part of it, but for those who have not been part of it, it's kind of, what are they doing? How'd they get there? It's like when you fall asleep on a trip in the car, you miss all the good stuff along the way. So, anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, great, thank you. And thanks, Marlene. That takes us to item number 6, which is communications from community and staff members. Start down on this end. Anything special for us, Jean? Into the microphone, please.
I don't think I have an update of anything that would pertain to this group, so,
Okay,
yeah, I think
great.
I'm good.
Anything else, Marlene?
Just a quick notice that the city is moving forward with our summer concert series, and the first one is on June 24th.
6:30 p.m. Town Center Park. Can't wait. Great, thanks. Steve, Julia?
Marlene brought up something really good that we didn't mention. Our station had our first in-person retail theft meeting about a week and a half ago, almost 2 weeks now. We were going to tentatively have about 15 retailers, only 7 showed, but I know that there was a conflict with COVID and whatever standards the stores had, and so respectfully declined the in-person portion. But we want the community to know that the station is being extremely active with the shoplifting as much as we can because of COVID. But we heard their concerns, made some suggestions, even SEPTED was brought up, and we will be having another meeting right before the holiday season.
Great, thank you. Anything for us, Doctor? Okay, Linda, anything else? Danette? Mike?
I just have a question. So with Santee TV, I'm just curious, are we getting into analytics or the, tracking, like what our viewership is on that? How's that going?
I
If we
know.
know.
Do we even have anything like that yet?
At this point, since we just got up and rolling, we're looking to see, is there a way to get any of that kind of information from Cox Cable, AT&T? But I can tell you that we have a huge viewership that tuned in online to the last city council meeting, so much so that I think we may have to go back and look at our web server to make sure we can handle the traffic. But other than that, right now, we don't have any analytics yet.
But that's a good problem.
Yes, sir, it is.
Thank you.
That's a good question. So, especially if we can track like how many people are watching these meetings or park and rec meetings, things of that nature, because then that way we know if we have to do more advertising, like a better term.
Yeah, well, like I had never seen a Park and Rec meeting, but I turned on Santee TV the other day and watched it. So it's working great. It looks good. I just hope that everybody's getting the word out there.
Yeah, great.
Mayor Minto. Sorry, it's Linda Roach. I wanted to thank you for pointing out that we have a vacant room with the exception of the panelists. However, we do have to be mindful of the fact that there are many individuals that are working at this time, and we don't want to minimize the importance of obviously attending work, but we want to encourage their input to COMPOC. And I think it would be important for them to be aware that there are other ways that they can communicate with us other than being physically present, and that those concerns will be heard by the committee. I think it's important for us to bring that to their awareness or to remind them.
Okay, that's going to be part of my sign-off today. But good point. Thank you. Jeanette? Anything?
I'm still trying to get used to sitting in this chair and figure out what this committee's about, but I'm hopeful, and if I come up with a brainstorm, I'll be the first to let you know.
Great, thanks. Anything else, Mike? Okay, great. Did we have any, we don't have any speakers or anything?
No, sir.
Okay, great, thank you. That was item number 7. So item number 8, which is our next community-oriented policing committee meeting date and agenda topic. We'll put on the website our agenda item that we come up with. I'm not sure how we've been doing this. Odette, do we actually put a list of any upcoming topics or anything for our committee meeting here, or have we in the past?
No, I think what Ann typically does is just sends out an email.
Okay,
Oh, Heather puts it online, I'm told.
okay. I think it's going to be important if we can come up with 2 or 3 different topics so that, and people know when that's going to be, so that they may want to actually tune into specifically that topic, or that may encourage them to come down if they know what's going to be talked about. So we'll figure all that, the logistics out for that.
You want for future meetings though, right?
Yes.
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 Yes, that's not done. We will look into doing that.
Okay, great. And then when you have an idea and you want to let us know about it, or if somebody hears something that we've talked about here or in any other committee meeting, they can always go to the website, and that's cityofsanteeca.gov. And there's every department on there. So if they want to send mail to a specific department or to a specific committee, it can be done. And then that way we get it, and when we have our meetings, everybody will get a copy of it. And so we'll, just like we did with what David sent us. And so that way we can all know about it. And it also helps us to plan for future meetings, because somebody may, send in something that we're going, oh, wow, we never thought about that. How do we prevent people from falling asleep when the paint's drying? It could be something we never thought of before. So that's how we do it. So that's the website. And that should be listed someplace probably on the television screen too, and get everybody down there. So, having said that, the next meeting is July 12th, 2021. We'll get that topic on the website, and we'll get that out also to the committee before you get here. And so, with that, not hearing anything else, meeting is adjourned. Good